What's up, everybody? We are here. We are here. We are here. We're going to talk about an article I just read in Complex and in People. 98 Degrees were asked to be a white version of Jodeci. Um, we're going to talk about K-pop being blackened, but I might not get to that. We'll see. We might get to that at the end. We might get to that at the end. But we just got word about an hour ago that Afrika Bambaataa passed away. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start the show with a rest in peace to and tell the complicated history of Afrika Bambaataa, and then we'll get to this particular topic. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're about to get started. Give me like 35, 45 seconds to get everything going, and I'll be right back. All right. We are back. All right, so let's start the show. This wasn't in the original plan for the show, but right after I made my thumbnail and created my title, I get a text message from Kendall that Afrika Bambaataa died. And the reason why I brought Kendall up is because she knows people. She's from New York and she knows a lot about that area. And Aton Edwards gave me a lot of information on Bambaataa and that whole era of the early years of the Zulu Nation and the Black Spades and all that stuff, because he was a baby spade. And so heard a lot about Afrika Bambaataa from them over the years. And Aton is tied in with Layla Wills, who, if you guys know who Layla Wills is, she calls into the Star Report sometime. I'll be looking forward to listening to the Star Report today. I'm pretty sure she'll probably call in. And she's the one that's been exposing for the last decade or so Afrika Bambaataa and what he's alleged to be have done to little boys. And so it's kind of, I don't want to start off on that tenor, but I want to acknowledge that tenor because there was a judgment. He got found liable actually last year in court. So that's something that we want to, that I have to acknowledge before I go into Afrika Bambaataa, because I do care about young children. So Afrika Bambaataa is also somebody who, when we talk about the whole story of Kool Herc, he's somebody that helped really start that half truth and make that half truth become the whole truth. A lot of that's behind Afrika Bambaataa, so we have to understand that. But also, Afrika Bambataa is somebody who created the Zulu nation. And this is all, and again, this is all reported that he's passed away from allhiphop.com. So this isn't me saying it. I got that call. But then I went over to allhiphop.com and they released this story about an hour ago. They released this story about an hour ago that he's passed away. You know, he's the primary architect of the Zulu nation, given credit for bringing elements of hip hop together, the dance, the graffiti. They say they give him credit for bringing peace to the streets of New York. This is what they give him credit for. And the Zulu nation. The Zulu nation, without a doubt, has had a profound impact on hip hop culture and hip hop music, regardless of regardless of what we hear about him. Did you hear about what K-pop did concerning Howard? No, Neil, email that to me if you can, because I can't click links from here. But if you could email that to contact@thewamb.com, and I'll click on it when I get to the K-pop story on here. But email to contact@thewamb.com and I'll click on it. Landon Dallas asks, did I mean Afrika Bambooty? I'm being serious right now. Y'all stupid. But before I get all the way started, go to patreon.com. I uploaded some new videos, some new stuff. We had a great interview with Dr. Randy Short. Go to patreon.com for that. But let's get back into it. Also go to bamfamilytree.org and incenseandashtrays.com. But as you see here, you know, Bambataa has a very complicated history. He has a very complicated history. One thing I don't appreciate is, you know, how he's allowed this lie through that hip hop museum to be told that Kool Herc and Grandmaster Flash and he are the fathers of hip hop, when he know that there's a deeper story. When we know that there's a deeper story to that. And we're gonna be doing some shows on that on here on YouTube, but they're gonna be Patreon exclusive because I'm gonna play music on them. But like, let me see here. My wife in there watching Tasha K. I'm gonna get her to turn that, man.
You know, she was.
If we're gonna review this interview, and we're gonna talk about how that lie was put out there about those three being the fathers of hip hop.
Well, that's a big Otello, should I say?
We're gonna talk. We're gonna do that on future shows.
Look at the picture; it's a bullpen, and you know, it's magic.
DXT breaks it down and talks about how they basically made that lie off those pictures. But we're gonna do that on another show. But you see here that there's a whole situation going on, you know, about him helping to push that narrative. And this is what happens oftentimes. This is why I say if you go to my interview I did on Incense and Ashtrays, go to Incense and Ashtrays YouTube page. I did a video I released just the other day on Kool Herc being the Christopher Columbus of hip hop. Going over to incenseandashtrays.com. I'm putting the link in the comment section right now. And I break down the whole Herc as a Christopher Columbus story over on Incense and Ashtrays YouTube page. Go over there right now. It's my second page where I break down a lot of music. When we talk about Bambataa, it's complicated. Because he did so much to lay down the foundations, some of the foundations he helped. He was one of the contractors in the building helping build the house, but he tells the story as if he was the general contractor that put it all together. And that's just not true. So when we remember Afrika Bambaataa, we remember somebody who did a lot to help lay the foundations of hip hop down, but we also remember someone who told a lot of half truths to take credit and X out credit from true innovators that he learned from and grew from. And that were his competitors within the city of New York and within the Bronx. He's somebody who's done both. He's helped put the foundation down, and he's also helped perpetuate a lie as if he was the only one. And we cannot discount Hassan Campbell. We cannot discount the allegations. Hell, he was just found liable last year in a civil in a trial. Let me see. We did a show on it. He lost a civil case. He lost a civil case. You know, by a plaintiff when he was 12. That was 12 years old. Layla Wills has been on this for a long time. And it's the reason why, even though he's been behind the Hip Hop Museum, that's the reason why he wasn't featured in any of the Hip Hop 50 stuff. He was basically told not to come. Layla Wills is somebody who was going to show up. If he's going to show up, Layla Wills showing up. And I want to play this video. I saw this from Hassan Campbell. Hassan Campbell, I saw this on his page. He gave a rest in peace. And I want to give a voice to Hassan Campbell because he's been on this. I don't think he'd lie about something like this. No man wants to talk about something like this that's probably not telling the truth. I don't think there's not a single lie that Hassan Campbell told about this. So let's listen to what he had to say when it came to his rest in peace to Bambataa.
I just want to take the time out to say rest in peace to the greatest child predator who ever walked this earth, Afrika Bambaataa. Before there was an Epstein list, there was an Afrika Bambaataa's Black Book. Before there was an R. Kelly, my mind is telling me no, but my body is telling me yeah. Yeah, before there was an R. Kelly, raised by Dr. York, one of the greatest predators that ever walked this earth. Rest in peace to Afrika Bambaataa, the greatest child predator ever. I'm going live at 5.
After Kobe threw the lob to Shaq, and I'm not from.
So there you have it. I know I'll be tuned in to Hassan Campbell tonight. So what's up, the Truth Seeker? What's up, Renee, Humans? Appreciate that y'all for joining. So as we see, there's a strong lineage of character issues from these people that claim hip hop. Not to compare the two crimes, but that leads me to know, okay, we're gonna have to do a series on this probably next week. And I'm gonna do a lot of this on Patreon. I'm gonna do some of it live on YouTube, but take it down and put it exclusively on Patreon because I'll be playing music. But Patreon, y'all get ready. Because I also had something with Pete Rock and CL Smooth, how CL Smooth talked about Pete Rock calling the police on him for selling merch. like just grimy, you know? There's a certain griminess to these people who like to claim hip hop for anything other than Black American art. There's like not that's like when I see these people, you see Crazy Legs and you hear his allegations, you know? Like all these people who like to other hip hop, if you pay close attention to them, there's a lot of grimy other shit going on with these people that leads you to believe these are just grimy individuals. And them trying to steal the culture of hip hop for themselves is just an extension of their griminess. Yeah, Layla Wills did do that. Man, again, salute to Layla Wills, man. Salute to Layla Wills. Layla Wills has been on it. She's been on it. She's been on it. But yeah, there's a certain sleaze bagginess to these people. And we're going to have to do an expose on that on Patreon. But yeah, so Afrika Bambaataa dead. And yeah. All right. So let's take us to our next story. Let's get the K-pop story in now. Then we're going to get to the, because I'm gonna spend a long time talking about the white Jodeci. But I want to go to this part right here on K-pop. This is an article I just wrote. It's up on incenseandashtrays.com right now. You can get the article in the description of this very video. And I will also post this article in the chat right now. Why do I only got like 100 of y'all watching? What the fuck is going on, man? Hit the share button. I'll say 200 something watching right now. All right. Well, hit the share button. It should be like 600 watching. I appreciate all y'all who are in here, though. I'm going to pin this let me pin this. I'm going to pin this article at the top of the chat right now. This is an article that I wrote on K-pop. Copy and paste the Black American Blueprint. What we see, whether we're talking about Bambataa trying to rewrite the history of hip hop and other it to other cultures, or K-pop, or what we're going to talk about later on with 98 Degrees, we see it consistent using the Black American as the blueprint. We see a consistency with that. So in this article that I put in, I pulled some original K-pop hits and matched them with Black American music. There's been a long-running conversation about K-pop's influence, being influenced by Black American music. I'm not here to debate that theory. I pulled the actual song side by side. And I want y'all to notice something right here. Notice this when it comes to their music and our music. Listen to this song called Baby Monster. And I'm going to go back and take that part out. Y'all hear that? Now listen to where it came from.
And we're here to rock.
Supersonic.
Supersonic. Supersonic motivating rhymes are.
Mind you, Supersonic, that's early. That's Wrecking Crew. That's early. That's before NWA. That's the sound that went into what you later on call Miami bass. So out of LA, you get JJ Fad that evolves into Miami bass. That's now a #1 hitter in K-pop. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? From JJ Fad to Baby Monster. The Black American music sound. And this article is pinned at the top. So I want y'all to read this full article. Same thing with Lee Hiory. But it's the keyboard part and the cadence of
Everybody get on down, cause you know we got to get it wrong.
That's what you're hearing here. Hear it? What they did was, because in music is layers. You can put sounds out front, you can pull them back to the back. And that cadence on Mary's version is out front. On Lee Hiory's version, it's in the back. But it's still the driving force to the tempo of the groove. And as you see on the videos, look at how they dancing. Look at how they moving. There's something else we're going to go deeper into over on Patreon, okay? Something else we can go deeper into over on Patreon. You said Mary J needs to get a lawyer and go after her. No, you can't, because Mary don't own her music. Y'all got to realize the record companies, a lot of them Japanese and Korean companies, they bought into Universal. They own these catalogs too. You know how people be selling their masters and like these companies that these funds that buy a lot of these masters are funds out of Asia. So these people own the music. They ain't no suing nobody. These people own the music. And on top of that, they get Black American music producers to put this together. Teddy Riley is a major force over there in the K-pop world. I just want y'all to pay attention to how we move culture. Cortez. Look at this. Hear that? Then you get Travis Scott. No, that's a different one. Instead of saying fiend, they say the same shit, but they say it over there in their language. You can see how what they're doing over there, they're not just taking the sound. They're taking the dance moves, they're taking the production, and they just flat out carbon copying it. They are just flat out carbon copying it. Yeah, and there's a lot of Black American producers who are over there making bread, giving them that sauce, which I'm not mad at. They got to make their money. The American record industry don't produce groups anymore. They don't fund groups. They don't fund doo-wop style music. So, but the Korean companies and the Japanese companies, they do fund that sound. So these brothers are making it however they can make it. Yeah, a lot of them, yeah. This is why they buy catalogs. Yeah, they buy them catalogs so they can mine from it. That's exactly why they buy them catalogs. So that they can mine from it. And they're going to be mining for centuries from that music, y'all. That's why we got to tell these stories. That's why we have to tell these stories. And it's also why we got to keep innovating. Because like J-pop been doing it. Like J-pop started doing this shit back in the 70s. Like, do y'all know that? The J-pop style, they started sounding like Earth and Fire back in the 70s and trying to sound like, or trying to. You know, this is old. but nobody paid attention. Why? And the question is, why is it that nobody paid attention? I'll tell you why nobody paid attention. It's because Black American music was still continually so busy innovating, nobody had the time to listen to a spinoff. Because one year we doing this, the next year we doing that. We weren't relying on samples back then. We were relying on innovation. And innovation was the standard. So as long as innovation was the standard, these offshoots couldn't get quite the level of grease and the level of shine that they got. Because why go to this cheap imitation when Earth and Fire, when Parliament, when Slave, when the Ohio Players got something new for me this year? The Isley Brothers. But what's happened with Black American music over the last 30 years? Black American music has gotten stale. Not all, but the stuff that we promote. Salute to Thundercat. Thundercat got a new album, man. That shit ain't stale at all. No samples. I bought the vinyl to Thundercat's new album. Man, it ain't no samples. All live beat, live production. Man, Thundercat did his motherfucking thing with this album. Jill Scott did something with her album. So I see we breaking out of that mold of sampling, but we as Black Americans, we got to break out of that mold of relying on samples. We got to get back to innovation with live bands, live music. We got to go back to playing our game. Sampling was never our game, even though when we sample, we the best at it. But sampling was never our game. Our game is to get sampled. The Beatles copy off of us. Led Zeppelin copies off of us. Blondie copies off of us. The 98 Degrees copy off of us. You know, Boy George, we don't do that. We keep pushing. We keep innovating. We keep creating. Our gold as Black American artists is creation. That's where we outshine everybody. That's where we outpace everybody. That's where we can't be touched. We got to stop lowering ourselves. Sometimes when it comes to competition, sometimes you just got to fly higher. You dig what I'm saying? I ain't talking about no Michelle Obama when they go low, we go high. I ain't talking about confrontation. I'm talking about creation and innovation. Sometimes if our plane can fly higher, we just got to fly higher. But as long as we stuck in that copy paste, as long as we sampling, as long as we doing that weak ass Jay-Z shit and taking other people's lines, as long as our best producers are taking previous songs and redoing them, then other people are going to do it too. And some of them might do it a little bit better because they've been copying a lot longer than we've been copying. Niggas got to get off that sampling shit, man. I was talking about my man Joseph Lineberg. Salute to Joseph. He gave me his CD. I love this album right here. I talked about last year, Mystic Journey by Joseph Lineberg. Make sure y'all pull that up on your Spotify. This is an amazing album, but it requires stamina. It requires focus. It requires attention. It's a 2-hour-long album. It requires you to check in. But I remember him telling me, he said when he released it, somebody came up and was like, man, I can't wait till you release that album so I can chop it up. I'm tired of niggas. Hey, for all y'all out there who just waiting to chop something up, then chop up your own creation. Niggas love chopping shit up. Stop. That's what opens the door for all this shit. Get back to creating. Of course, cost more. They cost more. Premium steak costs a hell of a lot more than McDonald's, you dig? Shit, or keep chopping it up. I don't know. But if you keep chopping it up, it's going to be other people chopping it up too. And you're going to keep yourself down there with the people who are going to have bigger budgets than you. Better get back to innovating, black folks. Got to get back to innovating. That's where we win. We win when we innovate. Even if you only have a machine, if you say you don't have a band, if you have a machine, create something new with it. That's all. If you got an NPC, whatever you got, that's fine too. Just create something new with it. Trust yourself, artists. That's all I'm saying. Artists got to trust themselves. Trust yourself. That's all it is. It's all about trusting yourself. Trust your innovations. Trust your creativity. Trust your creativity. Trust your creativity. Trust your creativity. No, great artists don't steal. Lazy artists steal. Great artists don't steal. Let me tell you something, this one. Great artists' egos are too big to steal. How about that? The great artists' their egos are too big to steal. They're not going to do that to themselves. Because the great artists got to know that they did it. I'm going to tell you off top. Great artists have massive egos. And they're not going to take from nobody. Now, what they will do, they'll be inspired by somebody else and they'll rework it. Now, that's fine. You'll hear something like, oh, that's dope as fuck. And then you redo it and put it in your own voice. Lazy artists still. Untalented artists still. And that's another thing too. All that sampling shit, not all of it, but all these excuses y'all give, if you're gonna tell the whole truth, and I don't mean, and please don't take it however the fuck you take it. I'll go so far as to say 80% of the people doing music now should get a day job or do something else. You're not an innovator. I would say 75%. 75% of y'all ain't creative. Y'all, a lot of these people just doing music because it sounds good. It's a way to not get a day job. And they're not creative. You do it because it's cool. I'm not saying that about anybody in here, because I don't know y'all music. But when I listen to a lot of music, I'll be like, nigga, you should be a lawyer. The real creatives, man, people don't be paying attention to the creatives. The creatives need protection. Creatives need strong men next to them. They need people who can speak next to them. The creatives are the most abused people in music. The creatives are the most maligned in music. The creatives are the ones that are most casted aside and screwed over. Because they got some niggas that's doing this job like Diddy because it looked good. Creativity's rare. People who are creative are rare. People who are creative are very rare. When you be out there in the music world, I'll be out there, I'll be like, damn. Look, it's a reason why, I know I'm creative, but it's a reason why I don't go all the way into certain parts of music. When I played the drums for 20 years, I saw what a lot of them other drummers are doing. I knew I wasn't that. So I'm not going to fake like it. You dig what I'm saying? I can produce, I'm creative, and I've done some stuff that I've never put out. I'll put some stuff out, but you ain't gonna see me putting out what somebody else did before me. Unless I do a complete remake of a song. Now you can remake a song and remake it in your own way. That's something different. But just always trying to sample from, that's lazy. If you've ever sat down with a creative, like I was talking to Battle Cat this past Sunday. The mind of the creative is kind of out there. Creatives oftentimes, if you know a creative, most creatives aren't the most social people. A lot of creatives have a hard, they don't really even communicate the best, a lot of creatives. A lot of creatives are hermits. They're socially awkward oftentimes. There's some that aren't, but most creatives they're very sensitive, rare people who are kind of awkward. They move awkward. Most creators ain't nobody you want to sit down and smoke a blunt with. Niggas, I love y'all creatives, but y'all know what I'm talking about, y'all creatives. What's happened with a lot of the house music that we see, I hear out there, dance music, and a lot of hip hop. A lot of hip hop production is just not creative. It's not. Not all. Hell, a lot of the R&B production over the last 20 years. A lot of the R&B production too. Now R&B don't get to escape. A lot of this shit's not creative. Like you hear the transitions coming. If there's a transition, that's even if there is a transition, it's like you can predict all the rhythms. And just be like, dude. That's why I don't like white people rock music. Like white folks rock, to me, it's just not creative. Every song ends the same way. Duh. Like, why every song gotta end like that with the white folks rock music? Why does every fucking song end that way? Why don't y'all create a tag? Do something different. God, that's why I don't like that shit. That's why, like, the only white folks music I like is Steely Dan and Hall & Oates and shit. Them some creative motherfuckers. Phil Collins. The rest of them motherfuckers be so goddamn monotonous with their music. I'll be like, Urgh. But let's get to this article on 98 Degrees being the white Jodeci. Hold on, Rocky gotta get that out. Let me let Rocky out. Rocky, you leaving me? You leaving me, little nigga? That's real talk, Doug. Creatives do not play it safe. They take risks. Creatives take risks. Being creative takes a lot of balls, man. Yeah, it's that rock music is that simple ABBA structure. It'd be like every fucking song's gonna go in that mode. I'd be like, again, I know how this song's gonna go. And I'm not waiting in comedy, man. I'll be goddamned if I take somebody else's joke. Fuck out of here. When I do my stand-up comedy, I ain't taking nobody else's fucking joke. Do you know how easy it would be to build a joke around Chris Rock's niggas versus black people's theme? If I was able to take Chris Rock's hook, you got niggas and you got black people. In comedy, I can't take that and build a joke around that. Everybody's going to say, that's Chris Rock, nigga, that ain't you. I could build all new punchlines, a whole different story, a whole joke. But if I took Chris Rock's, there's got black folks and you got niggas. That's not acceptable in comedy. So can't none of you niggas in music talk to me about what's acceptable and it's not. Comedy is the last bastion of free creativity. Music got compromised back in the 90s. We used to be a hell of a lot. These rules used before the 90s, these rules used to exist too in music. In hip hop, they called it biting. You couldn't bite nobody else's shit. But when y'all push Jay-Z to the top, you niggas allowed biting to exist in hip hop. Hip hop compromised itself. Comedy didn't. You know how many Corey Holcomb jokes I could remake if I was a stealing, thieving ass nigga, but I can't. I love Corey. Man, Corey gonna be having so many jokes. He had a joke about Jesus Christ being a side baby. You know how bad I want to redo that joke? But I can't, because that's Corey Holcomb. I gotta create some different shit. So you niggas better not come to me with that bullshit, all right? So let's get into this. Nick Lachey, you said you knew your comment would get me started. I don't know what comment you're talking about, brother. What's up, Go-Go? So let's get into it. Let's get into it. "98 Degrees caught themselves, said that they were influenced to be the white Jodeci. In this article here on from People Magazine, and the one I have linked in the description is the one from Complex, but I clicked on it and I saw People Magazine had their own version of it. The 98 Degrees were signed to Motown in early 1997. They said they grappled with their identity. See, one thing about music, bands and groups have to have an identity. If you go back and listen to my interview with Skip Scarborough, Mark Scarborough, he talks about his father, Skip, going up to the Bay Area, going to Vallejo to work with the group Confunction. And as a producer, he helped give Confunction their identity. When it comes to Earth and Fire, it was from Chicago, Charles Stepney, that really gave Earth and Fire their identity. It was really Bootsy Collins and when they came over to Parliament Funkadelic, that they gave Parliament their identity. Bands need identities. And so for their identity, for the 98 Degrees, they were signed with Motown. And he's saying here that the president of Motown wanted us to be white Jodeci. And so basically to make them be white Jodeci, they had them going to black churches in Harlem on Sunday. And Devontae Swings from Jodeci, they had to go around and follow Devontae Swings, and they went to Jodeci. They went to black churches. That goes to show you, look, the record companies know. In order to sell a white band, a white group, to even white audiences, you got to have a little bit of blackening on them. That's why so many, if you notice, that's why so many music acts start out black. The Beatles, they started out, their first hit was covering the Isley Brothers. This isn't the first time. Now mind you, Motown was not black owned at the time, but Kedar Massenburg was over Motown during this time. Kedar Massenburg is also the person that came up with the term neo soul. Kedar Massenburg, he's the president of Motown during this time. When they're talking about who was over at Motown during that time. He was the president of Motown. They didn't mention his name, but Kedar Massenburg was the president of Motown during this time. See, we can go back to VJ Records. VJ Records was a black-owned record company started in Gary, Indiana, that moved to Chicago in the early 60s that pumped out the Beatles. So black people have been pumping out. This isn't the first time a black management group has pushed out a white act. And I'm not against it because I want to see black people make all the goddamn money in the world. But everybody knows in order to do it, excuse me, in order for a white group to be legitimized to white audiences, they got to have a little bit of blackening to them. The Rolling Stones, they were sounding like Chess Records. You dig what I'm saying? Led Zeppelin, Black Blues. Madonna, Like a Virgin. That's Chic. Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards, Like a Virgin. Phil Collins, we can go down the line. The greatest white acts, they got to have a little bit of blackening on them, right? So we can talk about this all day. Here, Elvis went to black churches, right? When you look at the Bee Gees, if you watch the Bee Gees documentary, they talk very openly about trying to sound like the Stylistics. When the Bee Gees were trying to sound like the Beatles, they couldn't get a hit record. The Bee Gees didn't get a hit record until they started singing like the Stylistics. So black music is always the source. It's always the source. And if you remember, in the 90s, it was the two top groups of the 90s was Jodeci and Boyz II Men. Jodeci and Boyz II Men. Boyz II Men, in my opinion, the way I look at them, they were the last of the clean yet urban doo-wop groups, a lineage that starts back in the barbershop / gospel quartet days. But in the secular music with like the Flamingos and the Drifters and the Platters, the Flamingos, Drifters, and Platters gave way to the Four Tops and the Temptations, who gave way to the Dramatics, the Spinners, the Manhattans, the Jackson 5, who gave way to New Edition, who gave way to Guy, who gave way to Jodeci / Boyz II Men. Boyz II Men. It was Jodeci that started something new. It was Jodeci that took that tradition that started with the Drifters and the Platters in the 50s with doo-wop, and that lineage ended with Boyz II Men. Jodeci started a new lineage where there was still the doo-wop sound, but Jodeci integrated hip-hop dress and the hip-hop section to it. I know Boyz II Men have Motown Philly, yes, but they for the most part stuck to the traditional doo-wop sound. Jodeci brought hip-hop into doo-wop. And you can say Guy, but Guy didn't go all the way. Guy still was wearing suits. Guy and Teddy Riley brought in the hip-hop beat, but they were still wearing suits. Jodeci was the one that came out dressed hip-hop, singing doo-wop. And it was Jodeci that started a new lineage that evolved, or I would say grew into later on Jagged Edge, Next. Dru Hill was kind of a hybrid of Jodeci and Boyz II Men. Y'all remember them groups of the 90s, but Jodeci brought in the hip hop edge to traditional doo-wop music. And you see right here, because remember New Kids on the Block? New Kids on the Block was a white version of New Edition. Whenever we make a change, they're right down the line with the change a few years later. They're a little slow. Not right away, they're a little slow. So New Edition made a change. New Edition was the New Edition of the Temptations and the Jackson 5. Remember, Temptation is paramount. When it comes to music groups, the Temptations are the top of the heap. It evolved to the Temptations. The Temptations are ones that really laid the mold down for the groups. It's the Temptations. Or the combination of the Temptations and the Four Tops. They were the zenith. Everyone after the Temptations wanted to be the Temps. The Dramatics wanted to be the Temps. The Jackson 5 wanted to be the Temps. The 5 Stair Steps wanted to be the Temptations. The Temptations is who everybody wanted to be. Okay? The Manhattans, the Temptations, the Spinners, They were trying to be the Temptations. But it was the Jackson 5 that gave us, it was the Jackson 5 that gave us the youth movement of the Temptations. The Jackson 5 were like the children of the Temptations and the Four Tops, who got a lot of their swag from the 5 stair steps also. Remember, the Jackson 5 got a lot from the 5 stair steps. The 5 stair steps is, ooh, child. I'm gonna show y'all. Show y'all better than I can tell y'all. The hell's my wife watching? This is who a lot of that youth movement came from. It came from the 5 stair steps. The 5 stair steps were before the Jacksons.
Things will get brighter. Someday, yeah.
See how they're dressed? The 5 stair steps got their dress from Sly and the Family Stone. That was the group. They were the youth group, but they were dressed like Sly and the Family Stone. It was a combination of being, this is Sly and the Family Stone. You see how the Sly and the Family Stones dress? The 5 stair steps dressed that way. Then the Jackson 5 came out with that same influence that they got from the 5 stair steps. Vocal harmonies of the Temptations, swag of Sly and the Family Stone, and that's how we get the Jackson 5. That's how we get the. You see how you see how they're all dressed? That was the 70s rendition. Then when the 80s come around, you get New Edition. And I didn't plan on going this direction, y'all. It's just me off the top of my head. I don't have none of this shit ready to go. But out of that, you get the New Edition look. Whereas New Edition is dressed 80s cool. The Jackson 5 and the Stair Steps are dressed 70s cool. New Edition, they bring in the youth movement and they're dressed 80s cool. But even when you watch their dance steps, you see how they were going into the mold of the Temptations. I remember watching this, the Temptations live at the Motown Apollo. You go to early New Editions, they were doing all the Temptation dance steps.
And they've been checking all the signs. My friends say I'm love.
And you see Ralph Tresvant with the Michael Jackson mannerisms. So the New Edition was that Temptations / Jackson 5 swag. And then you get to Jodeci. Jodeci came in and they took the Jackson 5, they took that look, but they brought hip hop to it. They added hip hop to that tradition. And that's why Jodeci must always be remembered as standard bearers and groundbreakers. Oh, I appreciate the Cash App. Thanks, James, for the Cash App. And if y'all learning something, if y'all liking what y'all hearing, hit the Cash App, $DewanB1. James, I appreciate the Cash App. If y'all learning something, put something on it. We are the music makers and we are the dreamers of the dream. That's real talk, Go Gadget. Jodeci, land of Dallas. Yeah, trapped in culture, Riri Petty. About Bambataa, right? But you see here, Jodeci brought that street edge. They brought you see the chains. They brought that hip hop. They brought that hip hop to doo-wop music. They brought that hip hop to doo-wop music. So when he says the 98 degrees, if you look, you see here because of you, tank top, street mannerism. You see how they're trying to look a little bit low-key street. Got the dance moves, sagging. So yeah. And then that all goes into K-pop today. A lot of K-pop comes from Jodeci. And TLC was the female counterpart of Jodeci. Well, now that shit want a pinwheel. You see that? It all comes from us, man. And when we look at the same evolution, In Vogue was in the lineage of the Supremes, the Marvelettes, the Martha and the Vandellas, the Pointer Sisters, Emotions, the Jones Girls. In Vogue, SWV. It was TLC that brought that hip hop edge. It was really TLC and SWV that brought in hip hop on the female side. This is when they really made a splash. When TLC came out with this, SWV. When SWV came out with this, that brought the hip hop edge into the women's side of the doo-wop singing. And TLC Ain't Too Proud to Brag. They brought the hip hop. To the doo-wop sound. But the reason why you don't have any evolution after that is because Jodeci was the last to really evolve. All the other black groups from 112 to, y'all know the groups next. Y'all know I'm drawing blanks right now. I've been talking a whole lot. They all sort of took from the Jodeci lineage. And then you see right here that the 98 degrees also took from the Jodeci lineage. And I remember, let me see if I can find this interview with Sean Stockman when they were talking about the Boys to Men. Because the NSYNC was taking the Boys to Men side. NSYNC was white Boys to Men. 98 degrees was white Jodeci. Let me see if I can find that interview. Because when you deal with the mid-90s, Jodeci and the Boys to Men were at the top. What happened was in the late 90s, they brought in NSYNC. They brought in NSYNC.
What's good? This is Nathan.
This is Sean.
And I'm one.
To basically replace Jodeci and Boys to Men. I think I found the interview. Let me see if I can.
The guy that we know as Wanye Mars. Who were the influences?
Let me see.
Okay. WDAS, you know what I'm saying?
The old.
They do the, not college, but the high school. Just won't even know, like, too much. You know what I'm saying? Because
You just dumped the powder into some.
Juan came in
I gotta go back and find
midway
it. I
between.
might make that one a Patreon. I gotta go back and find it. Let me see. Oh yeah, and the Backstreet Boys. The Backstreet Boys. The Backstreet Boys, they was trying to turn into goddamn Drew Hill. It was NSYNC, 98 Degrees, and Backstreet Boys. That's what it was. It was all three of them. I forgot about that. Forgot about the Backstreet Boys. Because they were all the same to me.
What's good? This is Nathan.
This is Sean.
And I'm Wanye.
And we're Boys to Men. And
Lighter than I am because I focus mainly on vocals.
I'm just wider because I'm older, bro. That's the only thing.
But you know, like for instance, y'all know words to songs and stuff. Like y'all might know a Stevie Wonder song and lyrics and stuff like that. I never paid attention to the lyrics. I always paid attention to the melody and the vocals.
Let me see here.
Lyrics and stuff like that.
That wasn't it. If I had planned this part, I didn't think I was gonna even talk about this part. So I don't have that part where they talk about that part queued up. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this interview and cue that up and make that a different show.
You got in.
But in this interview they talked about how when they got off the plane, they saw an NSYNC, 98 Degrees, and you saw basically what happened in the late 90s into the 2000s. The industry shifted and it pulled back from black vocal groups, male and female. Beyonce got rid of Destiny's Child. She broke up with them. I think Cisco probably should have been the biggest star of that era because of what he did, but the industry pulled back from Cisco and they gave the light to Usher. But what you saw was no more Jodeci. You went to Casey and JoJo from Jodeci, and then to no Jodeci. We didn't really hear from Boys to Men at all, but we saw these white groups. And then we stopped seeing the white groups, and now we start seeing a bunch of K-pop. Why am I talking about this? This goes to show that Black American music, when we create it, it never really dies. None of our music had a natural death. Mind you, Boys to Men was coming off End of the Road when they tried to end their careers. In Vogue was coming off of What's It Gonna Be? What was that song? 'Cause I can't pretend. SWV was coming off of Rain. You know, Left Eye died with TLC, but none of these groups had natural deaths. It's just the industry stopped putting out music with them. You saw how SWV was broken up from their production team, and none of these groups that were black got whack on us. They just stopped getting promoted. And the budget went to the white groups. And now the budget is in K-pop. So I want y'all to really, when it comes to our music and we see how these shit, look at this happening right now in hip hop. Why is it the last real class of hip hop, and I say real class, the last real hip hop class was the one that was what? Meek Mill, Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole. All them niggas is over 10 years gone. They've been in the industry, all of them over 10 years. All of them coming up on 15 years now, they've been in the industry. Now it's been rappers that have come out, like you got cats like Ray Vaughn that's out now, and Joey Badass and JID, but they're not getting any kind of push. You got current rappers that are really good, but they ain't getting no push. The last rappers that get pushed been out for well over 10 years. Why? Because the industry has shifted from rap and hip hop. The industry is done with all black music. The industry gave hip hop about a 20-year lifeline. Hip hop really started to die down. Hip hop started to get watered down in the late 90s into the 2000s. Is when hip hop really started getting watered down. But the industry kept giving it a lifeline through budget. As the industry would shift away from R&B groups, those budgets would shift into hip hop. Hip hop's budget came from what used to be rhythm and blues' budget. Now there ain't no more budget for hip hop. That's why you don't see Black American artists doing much anymore outside of the ones who's been around 10 plus years. Because the industry is no longer funding Black music. Same with the NBA, same with the NFL coming. But look at what happened with college. Hell, not just the NBA, look at college. The University of Illinois had 5 European professionals. Go back and look. The University of Illinois had 5. Those Europeans all played pro ball. They're bringing in professional Europeans to play college ball. But look who won the national championship. Michigan, the team with Black Americans. It wasn't no Azabukis on the Michigan. It wasn't no goddamn Donkic's or some Slavic. Wasn't no Slavic names. Wasn't no African names on the University of Michigan. And you see they won the national championship. They're doing it in college right now too. Xing the Black people out. Pay attention. This is something that all of these, you don't hear none of these goddamn sports blogs talking about this. You don't hear none of the hip hop blogs talking about this. None of the R&B blogs. It's either two things that brings me down to why that is. One, you're not perceptive and you don't see the game. You're not perceptive of what's going on. Or two, you scared. I think 70% lies in number two. Some people are naive and just don't see it. They see something's going on, but they can't. Some people out there just can't. They notice a shift, but they can't quite, put their finger on it. That's some. The rest of you niggas is scared. I don't know what y'all scared of. They gonna replace your black ass anyway. Might as well speak up, nigga. Fuck y'all scared of. You see the Black American. I don't want to hear no black and brown or all of us black. You niggas is goofballs that talk like that. Y'all scared goofballs. And some people just don't have they just don't see it. Like there are genuinely people out there who don't see things in terms of race. They just kind of don't, or they don't. I'm not talking about y'all. A lot of y'all don't see it. A lot of people don't see it. But for the ones that do see it and you scared, if you're a Black American, what are you scared of? They're going to replace you anyway. You may as well go down with a fight. Rest in peace, Bob Law. That's my inspiration. My inspiration is Bob Law. Bob Law saw what happened. And he said something. And through Bob Law saying something about what happened to black men in radio, that dropped the game down to people like me who are in the research. It happened with black radio back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Neutered the black men out of it. But most of you niggas are scared. And for the life of me, I don't know why you could be scared to mention people who look like you getting X'd out of the process. Because you being scared ain't going to stop it. Only thing that's going to stop it is you saying something and you acknowledging it. Why are there no black men outside of the famous people at Power 106 at 92.3 The Beat? Where are the black men? Huh? We created hip hop. We created R&B. All these forms are created by black men. And we the first ones out. Basketball. If all this women's sports is paid for on the backs of black men. There would be no WNBA if the NBA wasn't financing it and taking a loss every fucking year. There would be no women's basketball without the Black American Civil Rights Movement and Title IX. Title IX is what got women's basketball to where it is. I'm actually going to take some calls today. 323-705-5150. You see how all this shit is built off of our innovation and creativity. We can't expect the women to say nothing. We got to say something. If we created it, we got to be the ones to speak up. The women will follow our lead. The women will follow our lead. Right? It's like, right, Kelly, notice like black people are afraid to acknowledge that immigrants, people have been given a privilege and often used to replace us. Right? Niggas is scared. You're the primary target and you scared. And if we look at the history of it, your fear don't stop the change. Go back to what Mr. Bob Law said. And you could also get some of that in this book right here, The Death of Rhythm and Blues. In the chapter on radio, they talk about how the black sound, they talk about how the black DJs were pushed out. What chapter is this? What chapter is this in this book? In this book, The Death of... There's a chapter in this book on, or here it is, Radio Days. You could talk about it on page 183 is where it starts. If you get this book, when they're talking about the radio. What they did with black radio is we used to have a personality DJ, Jocko Henderson, Frankie Crocker, Donald Byrd, Gary Byrd. I said Donald Byrd, he's a trumpet player. Gary Byrd, and you had these personality DJs that would rap over the beat. And they would bring in the song and bring in the sound, bring in the sauce, and they sounded better than everybody else. What happened was when white advertising dollars came into black radio, they convinced, and you hear this from Bob Law, they convinced black radio DJs to tone down the rap, tone down the personality, and just sound more like the white guys on the radio. And within 10 years, 15 years, most of those black-owned radio stations ended up getting bought out by white radio because the money never came. They were looking for white dollars, the money never came. You lowered the floor, you made it easier for everybody else, then niggas got replaced. They get us to take the live instrumentation out of our music, now you're getting replaced. You get us to take the big, we went from singing to Rihanna, now you've been replaced. Every time we lower the standard, we get replaced. I know y'all hate when I say this, but when Usher became the standard in the R&B, he's a good singer, but if you put Usher out there with 50 singers, he's gonna be singer number 47. When we stopped singing and went to singing, when we went from Gerald Levert to Usher, that lowered the bar for Bruno Mars. Because now all we gotta do is dance and barely sing. We constantly lower the bar, then get replaced. I don't know what you niggas are scared of. Will you allow Jay-Z to take everybody else's rhymes and create a new rap song around it? Yeah, okay, cool. Now you get Drake. Now that's become the standard? Okay. The standard is, okay, I'm gonna take this Biggie line, I'm gonna take this Ice-T line, I'm gonna take this Patrice Russian line, and I'm gonna rap a new song around it. All right, cool. Now other people can do that. And you niggas are scared to bring this shit up. I don't get it. I don't get why y'all so scared. Right, Danny Michael. Yeah. Yeah, Cisco was a better singer than Usher and a better performer. Cisco, remember, Cisco, the thong song was the biggest shit out there. But they put them gay allegations on Cisco. Cisco was out of here. You guys get Usher. Let's team Usher up with Jermaine Dupri. Let's team him up with the best production, because a singer is nothing without production. There's very few singers who are going to produce their own stuff. Singers need great producers. Singers need great producers. Singers need great producers. So Usher gets, and you knew they was going to do that when Usher, then when they had that Michael Jackson thing. Y'all remember Michael Jackson right before 9/11 when he had that concert with the Jackson 5, and they got back together. Y'all remember that concert? Who were the two new artists that they featured that day? Usher and Justin Timberlake. They put that's how you knew Justin Timberlake was gonna be leaving NSYNC and going on his own. And that's when you knew they was gonna really push Usher. Whereas in the past, they would have had a variety of acts on stage with Michael Jackson. They had the only two new acts was Usher and Justin Timberlake. Put Justin Timberlake with Pharrell, put Usher with Jermaine Dupri, give them all the budget. There you go. But now remember, Cisco had a great follow-up to the thong song. That song, "Without You, Girl, My Life Is Incomplete." Y'all remember that song, "Incomplete"? That song was on the radio too. Like after the thong song dropped, that nigga Cisco hit you with that. "All the expensive cars, without you, girl, my life is incomplete." Y'all remember that shit? He had he had a hit and a follow-up. But then them gay allegations came out against Cisco and it was over. Psh, push Usher to the front. But again, this is after the 1996 Telecommunications Act. All the radio stations are getting consolidated. All these record companies are starting to buy each other. A lot of corporate music mergers going on at this time. So they got to clear the field. Yeah, we gotta use our memory sometime. They want to wipe Cisco out right now, but in 2000, man, Cisco was white hot. Hey Larry, I'll sing again, nigga. I'll knock your ass out and sing at your funeral, boy. All right. No, Luther didn't have gay allegations. People assumed Luther was gay. There was no major leak story about Luther having. Luther kept that shit under wraps, and people like Oprah Winfrey helped him keep it hidden. We all assumed that Luther was gay, but no. What happened with Cisco was he was this is back in the early days of the internet, early days when he came out and was like, when you were new. Gay allegations fucked up Tevin Campbell. By the time people started really paying attention to Luther being gay, Luther Vandross is probably, people started talking about Luther being gay in the 90s, maybe late 80s. Luther already had like 5 classic albums in by then. We all kind of figured he was gay, but people weren't, you gotta realize in the 80s, we didn't see these people like that. It wasn't until he started coming out doing more interviews in the late 80s that rumors went around. It was like, oh, that nigga Luther fruity. But this wasn't early on in his career. Luther had already given us a bunch of classic albums. And his singing was next level. But the gay allegations fucked up Tevin Campbell, and they fucked up Cisco real bad. Space was made for Usher to get to the top, y'all. And this isn't about Usher. I respect to Usher. Usher just did Usher just living his life. These are industry decisions. I'm not blaming Usher. I'm not saying Usher don't have talent. Usher got extreme talent. God, he can sing better than me, and he's a dancing motherfucker. But you do remember Chris Brown was skating before Usher, though. Or I shouldn't have said that. But these are more industry decisions. A lot of these artists, man, look, man, I'm telling y'all right now, a lot of these artists is gay. Nah, Teddy Pendergrass got fucked over. Teddy Pendergrass didn't know that was a tranny. If y'all go watch Teddy Pendergrass' interview, they talked to the trans person that he was with, and that trans person said that it was a dark bar, and he would have had no way. There's no way Teddy Pendergrass would have known that was a dude. Teddy Pendergrass was set up, and they had been trying to set Teddy Pendergrass up, going back to Philadelphia. They were cutting Teddy Pendergrass's brake lines and shit like that. Teddy P was too powerful. He was the last masculine black male artist. Marvin had died. Marvin was gone, and Teddy Pendergrass got the thing. Luther was more effeminate. And Luther, as great as Luther sang, Luther had no music questioning society. Teddy P and Marvin were the last two that were hyper masculine. Well, Teddy P was more hyper masculine than Marlon. They're very masculine, but Teddy P also had a lot of music questioning society. Going back to his Harold Melvin and the Blue Note days. Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backwards thinking, time for thinking ahead. What has changed so very much? Where are my friends? Teddy Pendergrass, especially if you go out to his Harold Melvin and the Blue Note days, had a lot of music for you to listen to and live by. He was taken out. So don't put Teddy Pendergrass in that category. But you see, that's what they did with our music, man. It's controlled through budget. It's controlled through budget. But they get us to lower our standards. And that's how they take it over. Going back to when the black artists follow Blue Eyed Soul. I'm gonna refuse to call it yacht rock because the real name for yacht rock is Blue Eyed Soul. They're trying to rename and reclassify, and we must resist the whole yacht rock term. No, it's called Blue Eyed Soul. And it was called that when it came out. And the reason why it was called Blue Eyed Soul was it was to identify these are white acts trying to sound black. The yacht rock thing got renamed when that documentary came out about yacht rock. Hell no, it's not called yacht rock. It's called Blue Eyed Soul. They're trying to rename it yacht rock to take the blackness away from it. But that Steely Dan, Michael McDonald, Doobie Brothers sound was Blue Eyed Soul. Phil Collins, Simply Red, that's Blue Eyed Soul. Bobby Caldwell, yes. That's Blue Eyed Soul. When we lower the bar, they steal it. Music is a very, 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 very high calling. It's a very high calling. And only few can do it. That's why I got so much respect for those who can. It's a very high calling. Music is a calling from God, y'all. If you're a musician, if you're a producer, if you're a writer, you're a singer, you got to understand that you are a messenger of God. You're somebody that was incarnated here on earth to give us melodies, to lift our spirits, to give you word. You got words to write from the Spirit that are there to help us through our day, to teach us about what's going on in the world, to educate us. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, X, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. How often do you have to sing that shit when you want to figure out what letter come after the next? I know I do. What comes after S? A, B, C, D, E. So, okay, so Y comes after X. Okay. I gotta sing it. Okay, what comes after S? Q, R, S, T. T comes after S. How often do you gotta go back to that melody to remember your ABCs? Christopher Ellis said, that's a great question, Christopher. Any non-black people copying funk? No. Well, they try, but no. Here's the reason why. There are certain forms of music that we do that the genius is so high, it can't be copied. The stride piano was one. The original stride. But bebop. Bebop is an example. They never quite copied bebop. Bebop was far too musically sophisticated. Bebop ended up becoming a sound that got taken from and pulled in all different directions from salsa. Bebop combined with salsa is how you get Latin jazz. Bebop horn phrasing is where you get a lot of your bebop phrasing went in the rock, went in the funk. But bebop was never, they just killed bebop. Like bebop was just, the stuff that they can't take, they kill it off. Funk was way too genius. Funk never lowered its standards. Funk continued to get funkier. When you start with James Brown, let's say James Brown through 84, 76 to 84. 84 is where you get to Rick James' Zenith. 83 is Atomic Dog. 83 is also Steve Arrington, Weak at the Knees. You get Don Blackman, 81. You get Gap Band in the 80s. You get, I'm talking about acoustic funk before funk went all the way electronic. When it started to add the electronic but not go all the way. Funk started to get more and more sonically sophisticated as time went on. Funk never dissipated. Funk got funkier. And George Clinton talks about that in his documentary where he talks about when disco, see what they copied was disco. Disco was something that they were able to get a capture because disco was fast. Now, their disco was never of the high quality of Gamble and Huff disco. It was never of the quality of Chic's disco. But since disco was so fast, they were able to get in on that. So they got in on that side of black music. Funk kept getting funkier. You dig what I'm saying? Like James Brown funk. It started to build off that. Let me give you an example. Where's my funk mix? Let me give y'all an example. Let's go to some early James Brown. That was some later James Brown. Let's go to some earlier James Brown. This is the first funk song, Cold Sweat. One of the first.
2. I don't care about
That's first funk song, which was taken from bebop, going back to Miles Davis. No, Cool Jazz. So even in the early days of funk, there was taking inspiration from jazz, and that was more stripped down early funk. You know.
1, 2, 3, hit it. I jump back. I want to.
Bass, guitar, keys, drums, horns. Then as funk started to evolve, it got funkier. You got into the funky worm.
Oh, that's funky. That's funky.
That's 73. The funk gets funkier. Okay? And then when you go from there, you get the Bootsy Collins gets it a little bit funkier. Now you get that's Catfish Collins on the guitar. Now rock, because Funkadelic started as a rock band before they got to funk. They had Eddie Hazel there on guitar. They had to bring that rock side. You know, you get to that early that rock. This is early rock with Funkadelic.
Get off your ass and jam. Shit. Goddamn.
That's early funk mixed with some of that guitar heavy shit. But then it gets funkier. You know, the funk got funkier. Let me show you. Where's the song at?
A good evening. Do not attempt to adjust your radio.
They
There is
couldn't
nothing.
take that. You couldn't imitate that. And then from there, you started getting into deep funk. Deep funk is that love music funk, where it got real musty.
I knew. Keep on doing what you're doing to me.
That's Parlette. The funk started getting even funkier. Now the funk is entering into the love zone. You know, the funk is now entering to the love zone. And then Bootsy Collins was a progenitor of that.
And if you hang up on me now, I'll be feeling.
Now we dealing with the mid-70s now. It's getting stinkier and stinkier. The more funky we got, the less they can handle it. And the reason why they couldn't really get to funk oftentimes is because of tempos. Like their music is generally faster, like a pogo stick. Our music is slower. Then we start putting that gospel with the funk.
Don't worry.
That's Funky for Fun on the Clones of Dr. Funkenstein album. It's getting funkier and funkier. But then we added that funk element, that rock element that Funkadelic was so famous for. This is that rock element.
Red-eyed mama from Louisiana, coming away to Savannah. She been cooped up too long.
You know? You know? We started getting funkier with it. And I'm playing from my playlist. Y'all got my playlist on this playlist is on my Patreon, by the way. This is my funk playlist. It's on Patreon, by the way. It is on Patreon. I'm just on my P-Funk list. And then it got funkier again. And then when we get to the late 70s, you know, funk has gotten to the point it's getting funkier, and now we get Cool in the Game. Now you start to get these big horn elements, these big guitar elements, and now funk is going here with it. The sound gets bigger with Cool in the Gang and sound. We now are dealing with the mid to late 70s. Funk is getting a grander sound. You heard that. And then funk starts to get Ohio players. Backbone. Funk is getting real funky. Then it's coming with this. Wanna be free. You think they can imitate this? They can't imitate that. And then funk gets even funkier than that. Now you're getting into, now Rick James comes on. Rick James took the funk to a whole nother level. Funk is not compromising. Funk never compromised. That's why funk never got taken. Funk went into hip hop. Now funk is in everything that we do. It's still funk is still a major player in pop music to this day. But it had to get watered down and sort of it couldn't come in as a pure form. Because even Stevie Wonder's getting in on the funk. Everybody getting in on the funk. This the only white person that could do some funk was Tina Marie. Yeah. Tina Marie is the only one that could do some funk. Come on now, why is Jiggalette not playing?
Nothing has changed.
Color Me Funky. Here we go. This is the only white funk you're going to get right here. Tina Marie. Some white funk right there. Then you get Tom Brown. This late 70s. Oh, you'll get some white funk also in Tower of Power. Well, they were Latinos and black. Some of the best funk comes from out of the Bay Area with these boys. You get some Tower of Power. And you also get some Average White Band. Average White Band is one of the greatest white bands to do some funk. They were authentic, Average White Band.
Walk right on.
Average White Band. Yeah, American Tradesman, the funk is everything, yeah. Funk just kept getting funkier. And so by the time funk, I might do a Patreon on this. By the time we get to the end, into the 80s, man, now you getting funk, you getting, this is where it went. Like funk is still evolving. Funk had gotten, man, now funk, you really can't fuck with funk when you get the snapshot. And then it ends on the song that took Thriller off the #1 spot. How did Funkadelic George Clinton basically end their run on the most popular funk song ever created? That's when they killed funk. They killed after Atomic Dog. They tried to kill funk in the 70s. Then you got Zapp and Roger coming out. You know, now you got Zapp. You got Midnight Star. You got a whole new generation of funk. And then you get Atomic Dog. Funk was growing. But then funk got killed off. They just say, you know what? We can't find nobody to replace these niggas. So you know what we gonna do? We just gonna take it out. Chubby, I appreciate the cash app. Williams, I appreciate the cash app. Thank you. Barcades, yeah, Sky. This is 80s funk. Funk was going somewhere. Funk was going in their direction, but the industry killed it off. Cameo, what Cameo was doing. Funk was going in a particular direction, but it was killed off. So yeah, nah, they never took funk. Larry, I appreciate the super chat, but I would have stole that money from you anyway, nigga. Fuck off. Yeah, so rough, so tough, all that. I'm gonna play so rough, so tough when I'm walking down the ring to whoop Larry Goodwell's ass. Yeah, so but funk got pushed into hip hop. What hip hop did was sample the funk. That's how hip hop grew. Hip hop grew off sampling the funk. And Too Short told you that. Too Short told you what these niggas was doing. One of my favorite Too Short songs right here.
Monopoly. Now I'm making money, ain't nobody stopping me. Used to be local till I signed with Jive, man. Used to like the sample, now I'm rolling a live band. Now
I love that song from Tupac. Sample the funk. I'm Too Short. Sample the funk. Can we sample the funk? That's all. That's what hip hop did. You know, the funk was killed off by the industry, and hip hop sampled it and gave it new life. Now it's time that we move on and start back getting funky again and creating again. Yeah, funk is the real father of hip hop, of course. All right. Thank y'all again for listening. Appreciate y'all. We're going to probably do a late night live tonight because this video is going to get demonetized because I play so much music. So if y'all can send me a cash app, that'd be great. Because this video getting demonetized. I play way too much music. If you appreciate the music, hit the $ Dewan B1, all right? If you appreciate the music, hit the $ Dewan B1 because I ain't getting no monetization off this video. That's just gone. Play way too much music. But that was my choice. Y'all ain't got to put nothing on the cash app if you don't want to. That was my choice. But if you appreciate the sacrifice, make up the difference and hit the cash app $ Dewan B1, all right? I gave y'all something that I would normally give my Patreon, but y'all got a little bit of what we get over on Patreon right now, all right? I'm going to answer this call before I get up out of here. Well, who's this? Who's calling?
Hey, before you go, I just wanted to let all the listeners know that you are a hoe.
Hey, Larry, I'll beat your ass. Yeah, you probably was dancing to the 98 Degrees back in 1998. You had them, the Backstreet Boys, and NSYNC on your goddamn wall, nigga.
Boy, you know, boy. First of all, fuck you. Second of all, you know better, boy. White people weren't even allowed in my house growing up. You think they was allowed in my motherfucking CD player in the goddamn late 90s?
You called your camels the 98 Degrees, nigga.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, whatever, ho. I let these people listen to a fake nigga for the last hour or so that you've been on, so I wanted them to hear a real nigga before you get off. So I've done my job, and I'll kick your ass.
Man, you ain't Cass, you ain't kicking my ass. I'll whoop your ass, boy.
Well, you can't say ass 3 times
When
in
I
a row.
say it 3
That shit
times
don't
and you
count.
can't do nothing about it, because I'll beat your ass, nigga.
That's 4 times. All right. Oh, you keep talking. You keep talking.
Yeah,
You
I'm gonna keep
keep
talking,
it up.
and you gonna keep walking.
Yeah, okay, CC Peniston. All right, man. Y'all keep supporting this piece of shit, dog. And he's gonna need money for the funeral. So y'all keep Cash App and Super Chat,
Get
all that
the
shit. It's all
fuck
go
out of
towards his
here.
funeral. You hoe.